Who moved my cheese? It is a morally meaningful allegory about two rats named Sneeve and Scurry in dwarf Hem and How, who live in a maze where we look for what we want, and they search for cheese that symbolizes happiness, money, career, health, love, relationship, or status. The collection begins without cheese and the mice separate from humans in the long labyrinth lanes in search of cheese. One day, the two groups find a cheese-filled corridor at Cheese Station C. Happy humans put action on their daily consumption of cheese and begin to act arrogantly during the process. Sniff and Scurry arrive at Cheese Station C one day to discover that there is no cheese, and they are not surprised, as they notice that the cheese supply was decreasing every day. They were prepared for that inevitable fate, and they instinctively knew what they were going to do. The mice did not exaggerate in analyzing what had happened, were not overwhelmed by complex beliefs, and began to search for cheese again. Late in the day, Hem and How arrived at Cheese Station C to find the same thing. There is no cheese, Hem shouts angrily. Who moved my piece of cheese? After making sure there was no cheese, they complained about the injustice of the situation and returned home hungry. Hem and How returned to Cheese Station C the next day and did not find cheese either. The dwarfs began to understand the situation, and How suggested that they look for cheese again, but Hem, who was immersed in the role of the victim, rejected the proposal. At that time, Sniff and Scurry find a new cheese supplier at Cheese Station N, while Hem and How at Cheese Station C are still affected by the loss of cheese and blame each other for this predicament. How, hoping for a change in the situation, suggests looking for a new cheese, but the usual and reassuring Hem of the old routine and afraid of the unknown rejects the idea again. The dwarfs remain cowardless after long days of denying what happened. How begins to laugh at the situation and stops taking things seriously after discovering his fears and helplessness. How enters the maze again after realizing that he simply has to move on after carving on the wall of Cheese Station C for his friend to ponder. If you don't change, you can perish. How, still afraid of his journey in the maze, wrote on the wall, "What do you do if you are not afraid?" Still worried, probably because he waited too long to start researching, How finds pieces of cheese feeding him to be able to continue his search. How begins to realize the fact that the cheese did not suddenly disappear but was diminished by constant consumption, and that the old cheese was not tasty and was moldy. After the disappointment of the empty cheese station, How begins to worry again about the unknown, but he begins to enjoy life again after putting his fears aside, and even starts smiling again. After reaching another empty cheese station, How decides to return to Hem again with the small pieces of cheese he has found. Hem refuses to take the new cheese, causing resentment to his friend. How returns to the maze armed with the knowledge he had gained on his previous journey, walking through its depths, following the pieces of cheese scattered here and there, and leaving behind writings on the walls of the labyrinth, showing his own thoughts in the hope that he would find a friend to help with these words during his search for cheese again. One day, How arrives at the Cheese Station N, which is full of cheese, and realizes that he has finally found what he was looking for. After eating, How reflects on his experience and thinks about returning to his friend, but eventually decides to let his friend find his way himself. How heads to the largest wall at the Cheese Station N, and writes, "Change happens. Cheese pieces are constantly moving. Expect change. Get ready when the cheese moves. Monitor change. I smell cheese a lot, so you know when it gets damaged. Adapt to change quickly. The sooner you get rid of the old cheese, the more you can enjoy the new cheese. Change. Move with cheese. Enjoy the change. Savor the adventure and enjoy the taste of new cheese. Be prepared to change quickly and enjoy changing again. Cheese pieces are constantly moving." How realized how far he had come since he had been with Hem at Cheese Station C. But he realized that it would be easy to get back to where he was if he were too comfortable, so every day he checked the cheese at cheese station N to check on the cheese stocks, and was willing to do anything not to be surprised by any change he did not take into account. First, expecting change. Change will inevitably happen at any time, in any form and in any form. Cheese pieces are constantly moving, and the best way to face the strong winds of change is to prepare for them, anticipate them, and develop a plan to deal with them as soon as they occur. Second, adapting to change. Denying change and not absorbing or confronting it is not the best way to deal with successive changes. Moving forward is the only solution to the emergency of change. The sooner you get rid of the old cheese, the more you can enjoy the new cheese. Third, change and enjoy the change. One must believe in the necessity of change, enjoy the journey of change and consider it an adventure and a new opportunity to start a different stage of life. Adhering to faith and trusting in God Almighty in overcoming all the stumbling blocks facing us may open other doors for goodness that we are not aware of. What is important is to break the barrier of fear and rely on God to face our fears of change. Finally, we strongly advise everyone who is trying to resist change in life or work, read this fun book, which is the way to motivate people to change, as well as a guide and an amazing way to walk safely in times of change.